this is probably one episode which anybody who's associated in any form with the fitness industry cannot miss. Even if you're an independent, a boutique gym owner, a CEO of a large fitness chain, it's relevant to all of you. Today's guest, David Stalker, a true legend. He's got 4 decades of experience. He's the President of EuropeActive. He's somebody who's been the CEO of My Zone. He's coined the term more people, more active, more often. He's probably the only guy who's flown in from London to Manchester for a podcast shoot. Thanks for doing this, David.
It's an absolute pleasure.
And thanks for traveling all the way from London. You're probably the first person I know in the UK who's flown from London to Manchester. How did you manage to do that?
Yeah,
and why?
Well, as you know, I live near Farnborough and the private jet was available. No, I'm close to Heathrow. And so it was easy to get up. And the truth is that train travel, just in case anyone from that industry's listening, is getting a little bit expensive. And actually, it was a bargain to fly up here if I ignore the car parking at Heathrow.
Yeah, train travel is absolute bollock. You know, it's Murphy's Law. If it can go wrong, it'll go wrong. Every time I had an important meeting, the trains got cancelled. And it's not the most memorable thing you would want to talk about, a train cancellation, especially when you're coming for a podcast.
Absolutely.
So David, today is a very interesting one for me because I, obviously look at you as somebody who I've learned a lot from in the industry. In the last couple of years, 2-3 years that I've been in the UK, I think you don't realize, but you also played an instrumental role in how I've shaped the way I see the industry, having conversations with you. And I thought that it's a great opportunity to talk to you and take that to people, your knowledge that you've got for decades now. You run one of the most complex associations, which is EuropeActive. I feel European Union is is probably the biggest oxymoron. European Union, all of them speak different languages, have different cultures, eat different food, and don't agree on most things. Now, you run a very complex association just by that regard. Forget the fitness part of it, the political part of it itself.
Yeah. I did do EuropeActive, which is a big breakthrough in understanding the world of politics. I'm no politician, and EuropeActive came after EuropeActive, and in fact, it was EuropeActive that was really instrumental in starting up EuropeActive. So this was pre-Brexit.
You also the father of more people, more active, more often, if I'm not wrong.
Well, a lot of people claim that. I was certainly there at the outset. Yeah. And but everybody has taken on that mantle. So more people, more active, more often. UK was leading the way, having followed America. Europe was a little bit behind. There's changes now. There's this big push through from the Netherlands, and another entrepreneurial country, I guess, that has taken to doing a lot in the sector, Basic Fit and people like that, Spain and GoFit and things that are happening there. But yeah, I guess I was an oddity in as much as I was a Brit who was president of EuropeActive, and then Brexit came along and I'm still president of EuropeActive. So I guess in some ways that's odd, although I'm coming to the end of my term. Nothing to do with Brexit. But you raise an interesting point. You have 28 or 29 member states there, and they are very different, and health falls to the member states. It doesn't fall down to Brussels. So they all have different views. So actually it's very complicated, but EuropeActive was set up really to get the equivalent of EuropeActive happening in all the member states. So now there are various trade associations at different levels. Some of them are one-man bands, but it's about driving that more people, more active, more often banner, and I guess moving up the importance of fitness as a health solution. In the UK, that's easy. Our National Health Service goes bankrupt to the point of entry if people don't get involved in exercise. So we have that. We're not making much progress, and it may well go bankrupt at the point of entry, if not already. And under the current government, with kind of Rachel from accounts in charge of our our treasury. I'm a little nervous about that, but these come around and they get, we have a voting structure. You'll never spot which way my politics flows, but regardless of that, right now, it's an unstable environment we operate in the UK, and Europe is more complicated, and that's an unstable environment. And then you've got a war in Ukraine, and that creates an instability. And then you've got Mr. Trump deciding he's going to do what he's going to do. So under the backdrop of probably the most volatile situation the world has had since the last World War, without there being a war, everything has to carry on. So the health and fitness sector need to carry on pushing, getting active. They need to carry on influencing health. Countries have still got to operate. They've got to keep their bills under control. And I'm just standing in the background trying to point people in the right direction. It's like controlling an enormous traffic jam that's coming from every direction, and you've just got one little red button and one little green button, and you're going, and you just hope for the best.
And I'm just a simple guy who wants to go to the fucking gym. How does that impact me? And the reason I'm asking this question is because people don't understand what goes behind the doors of this industry in terms of what does the UK Active do, what does Europe Active do for a gym goer, for an independent gym operator, and for a large player.
Yeah, it's interesting. Firstly, as a gym goer, you've already pretty much cracked it because you're going to the gym. Yeah. So I wouldn't say that the priority for UK Active, Europe Active, whatever the active is around, I don't think their absolute priority is the gym goer, because you are doing something about their health. Now, there is that opportunity because we went through COVID, and gyms were the first to close, last to open.
Yeah.
And I think the industry will say that was because we didn't have such a high profile in Westminster or Brussels. I don't think that's really the case personally. I think it's much more about the British public were more keen to get back to the pub, and voters vote based on, MPs will go that way. But if you're a gym goer, one day, if the fitness clubs that you're in are truly offering health solutions, and there are other people, so a much greater part of the population, so people are there for stress, for mental health, young and old people alike, in different clubs, because different clubs have different markets, but we are really doing that. So we are the community delivery partner of fitness. Then you as a gym goer can have the dream that VAT is suddenly not part of of membership. So you see a 20% drop in your membership fees. So, I mean, that alone, not only does that drag a lot more people through the door,
it does.
But as a committed gym goer, you are getting the benefits of that. And then more companies, insurance companies and the rest of it are saying, well, premiums are relevant. Premiums are relevant to those who are fit and healthy. So those are benefits. So that all happens in the background. You have to remember that you're continuously arguing right now. You've got the whole crowd that fall under a Ozempic and let's stick another needle in ourselves and see what happens. Now, I'm not saying that that's not a relevant part, but no one can tell me, and I don't know all the science behind it, that doing all that without health and fitness is the right solution. I know it's not. You need to be doing your resistance training and the rest of it. But we'll always have the battle, because what are we? Even just coming up to Manchester and driving through town and seeing well-known brands and, pointing to various clubs and that are there. What are health and fitness clubs really? They're communities. They're communities of people who are interested in health and fitness and exercise. They are not pharmaceutical companies who are interested in putting something into your throat to make a difference to your lifestyle. Let's ignore the side effects of whatever happens. So, we can go to the Ozempic, or we can go to the other extreme of just lifestyle, type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol and things like that. They are throwing these tablets down people's throats, because you can't patent what we've got. You can't patent being healthy and being being fit. So we are competing against that market, and that is really tough. And that is where, you say as a fitness goer, as a fitness goer, you shouldn't be just thinking about you. You should be thinking about your family and your friends and your grandparents and your mums and your things like that, and just saying, hey, hold on a second, I need, dad's taking 78 tablets. Grandma's living forever, but she's stuck in a wheelchair and can't get out of it. And she'd probably rather she wasn't living, but tablets are keeping her alive. And me as a gym goer, I need to find a place where these people can exercise, or I need to find a park where they can walk around, or I need to find some way of getting them moving, because it doesn't have to be a gym. I think if you start walking, you walk the dog, you walk down the canal or whatever, one day you might walk into
I remember this discussion at the World Health Organization when I was having a chat with Fiona Bull, and she said that, gyms probably not even part of what we think. As long as people are moving, and walking is probably the number one in terms of accessibility to parks or whatever you're doing. You mentioned something very interesting, and I'm just trying to frame this question well. See, if you look at our society, right, the fabric of the society will change if people stop interacting with each other. Gyms are good community places as well, where people go in and interact. There's a lot of impact on mental health as well. So it's not only the physical aspect 100%. Of it. Now, you see, they say that the biggest epidemic we will see in the next decade is going to be loneliness, because people are not talking to anybody. Work from home, which we were speaking about, some time back, is not helping the cause. So people are at home, they're not working out, they're not walking, they're not interacting with people. Where's this world going?
Well, as you can tell, those who are watching this on a camera, that I'm not in my teens. So I come from a generation of talking to people and communicating and socializing. But we have to be realistic that has changed dramatically. And I know people who are making choices about joining clubs based on the fact that they don't interact. So they're joining a club because they can do it purely online, because they literally don't want to tour that club and meet someone and talk to people. So that is a worry. But I still think if they come into that club, they still become part of the community. They might be part of a generation that doesn't necessarily want to communicate like we are or other people.
But they will still connect on 100%. Some level.
They'll connect even if it's only watching the environment around them. It's human interaction, and human interaction is crucial. And we see this rise in the importance, and it's great that it's important, mental health. And we know that serious mental health is a different matter. Now, that has to be dealt with by professionals. But people suffering from loneliness and things like that, which does lead to mental health, can just be stimulated by being in that health and fitness environment. Just by getting away from being in front of the screen will help that. Just by going to the park, just by going and having a game of paddle, just whatever it happens to be. We need people to be communicating, and what can be better than a healthy environment. The healthy environments need to realize, though, that people coming in there, when you walk into a health and fitness club, to be greeted by battle ropes and grunting people and someone doing 20 pull-ups and the rest of it, is probably putting them off a bit. So we need to make sure that if we're bringing these people in, we bring them into an environment where they're comfortable. And this industry used to be better at it, in my opinion, because we were inducting people. We were looking to create communities within community. My Zone does that brilliantly because it singles people out and gets them together as a community within that facility, all based around heart rate, and you can be competitive or not competitive. So there are various people who are looking at that, but just that basic. I joined a gym. I had an induction. I got to meet people. I was part of the community. I used to say I didn't really care if people joined my clubs and only turned up for curry night. I didn't care. They were just part of the community. Yes, I wanted them involved in fitness, but I cared much more about them being there.
I mean, you spoke about My Zone, and you've been the CEO of My Zone. You understand. Yeah. Obviously you're an ambassador for them as well now. But I mean, to be very honest, I don't think MyZone is anything which is groundbreaking in terms of technology, right? There are other players who do heart rate monitors. But I think what MyZone has done really well is its ability to get the community together. I know hardcore fans of MyZone who count their MEPs and who would, if they reach the gym and realize they've not had their MyZone belt with them, they would go back to get their belt and start the training. That's the power of community. The events that you do, and every single person who I know in MyZone at least, be it Monksy, be it Rachel, they are all people who live by the brand, and you feel as if they own the company in a way, So as an organization, right, which has been able to get people on the fitness bandwagon by something as simple as a heart rate monitor, which is available off the shelf. You can buy a Chinese one, probably 1/10 the cost of MyZone. How have you been able to do that?
Yeah,
and what can we? Let me complete the question. And what can an independent learn from you? One of our viewers of this channel are people who are independent gym owners or are trainers who want to start a gym, and their biggest fear is, will I be able to build this community? Will I be able to get people along with me?
You could. Dave Wright, as founder, could speak endlessly on this topic, but the truth is that MyZone led the revolution in the industry of community health and fitness, rewarding people. It was the early days of gamification. It's simply there. It created communities within facilities, fitted you with people, and you were being measured against World Health guidelines. You were being tapped on the back. You were being awarded with it, and it created this massive movement, which has stood the test of time. I think it's fair to say, though, that MyZone cannot work. It's the people who work in those gyms who drive it forward. We are an industry that needs our professionals in there. You talked about people who work for MyZone. There's tons of people in these gyms and in these clubs, these fitness instructors, these receptionists, these people working in bars and cafes, these people working in spas, wherever it happens to be. That's the heart and soul.
Correct.
MyZone's a product which makes it possible for them to do their jobs better and create communities and make people feel together. So embrace it, make the difference, fine. But ultimately, you might go to McDonald's and you're going to get exactly the same hamburger at each place. And that's what you're expecting. When you go to a club, you're going to get a treadmill. It doesn't matter whether you go to the top end, most fantastic club, or you go to whichever one, you're probably going to get a treadmill. It might be from any number of manufacturers. They're going to have that. What is going to be different is the people, is the people who really care, not the guy, not the personal trainer who's taking you for a session, but actually more concerned about the size of his triceps than yours. Not the guy who's there, and I, my background, born and brought up in Kenya, and have that interest in animals, not the personal trainer who's that alpha gorilla and is training Bambi, and all Bambi is feeling is this gorilla's just about to eat me, but someone who's actually empathetic and understanding and thinking about them and caring about them, and not just caring about them, caring about their family and their friends, getting to know them, embracing them, getting them to make a difference. It's not they've arrived, I've got 60 minutes, let's do this, now it's your press-ups, now it's your pull-up, do that, you did this way, yay, whoa, yay. And I started my career as a personal trainer, world record worst personal trainer ever. ever. And I took it to a new level of poor technique. But I was always really empathetic to people. I was really busy because I wanted to make a difference to people's lifestyles, not just them, but their family. And that's why it's so important for our industry to drive the standards of our instructors. As you know, I work with Active IQ and various other people involved in the world of training. And it can't be a race to the bottom. We can't expect to be deliverers of health if everything's happening online. So you do your training course online, and then you've completed your online course and you go into a gym, and my God, suddenly I've got to teach somebody face to face and communicate with them. It's absolute rubbish. We're a people business. We just got to be able to do it.
I was, in fact, you mentioned Active, because I was having a chat with Jenny on this, and, I was saying, look, I think, I think, we need to, 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 we I think one challenge that we see in the UK as well is that personal trainers don't want to take. We're probably one of the poorest countries in terms of how many people take a CPD after they finish their course. People are not interested. People are not asked why.
Yeah, I find it incredible that a personal trainer can do their level whatever course and they're a personal trainer and then not think I need to develop myself any further. I do work with Ollie Patrick and Harry Jameson. Loads of opportunities just with them, and there are others. Do you really understand VO2 max? Do you understand stress? What are the differences you can make on that? You know, it's not. A little bit of knowledge is dangerous. So you need to keep growing it. And particularly in the power in the world of Instagram, where there are so many people now who do know so much more. And there are so many people looking ridiculously fit and healthy. I don't know how they're possibly half of them are looking like they are looking, but I assume they've got good lenses on their cameras or whatever. But we're in danger of creating a false expectation of this world and an inability to deliver the standard of training that needs to happen. If our instructors just say, I've qualified, well, develop. And where do you want to develop? Where do you want to go into? What do you want to make a difference? How many instructors do you see, fitness instructors saying, what I want to professionalize, what I want to really focus on is stroke victims, some, but so few. Yet there's a huge commercial market, and those are people who really care, and we should be making a difference to them.
I think it's more to do with the fact that people look at the qualification as a tick in the box. So most people who are taking up the PT course, they say, you know what, I've been going to the gym, but for me to become a personal trainer, I need a certification and insurance. So it's a tick in the box. They're not doing it to learn. Now, the challenge around this is, I don't think, and this is we've discussed this a lot of times, budget gyms, which I feel, they've done really well for the industry, but they've also fucked it up big time in terms of, because it's unmanned and because the trainer is left to fend for himself. What it's done is the trainer is now no longer in a position to invest in himself. The company doesn't want to, the gym chain doesn't want to invest in the trainer. The trainer doesn't want to invest in himself. The trainer wants to make a living. Cost of living is killing you. How do you expect this to be solved? And I don't blame the trainer for this. I think it's a wake-up call for all the larger gym chains to have their own academies or invest in their trainers.
Yeah. I'm going to, at the risk of bringing the podcast to an early end, I'm going to disagree with you on some of those points.
Cut it.
Firstly, if you take the low cost gyms, well, they're very successful. So they have created a market,
right? And
they've got more people active, and they tend to be younger people. And the younger people are far more aware of their physical activity than other generations. So there is an absolute positivity there. I would love, and some of the really big chains do invest highly in the training of people. Whether you take a David Lloyd or a Third Space, they really are investing a lot in the.
But none of them are budget gyms, are they?
No. That's the high end. The high end.
Yes.
But the point that I'm kind of going to disagree with you. I don't really want fitness instructors to come into our industry who are approaching it with a tick box exercise. I just don't want them. I want people who want to make a difference, or who realize that on those broad shoulders, because most of them have got broad shoulders and they're fit and healthy, on those broad shoulders, they carry the health of the nation. So come on, grow up. And that takes qualifications. Elaine Jobson, who's CEO of Jets and an industry absolute icon, she used to invest her own money in her own development because she accepted that she needed to do that. She didn't expect the companies that she worked for to be investing that money in her own development.
Dave,
why shouldn't you be?
No, I agree to what you're saying, but I have a slight difference of opinion. What you're saying makes a lot of sense, but I have a slight difference of opinion. I don't think companies are giving enough opportunity because people are self-employed, right? They no longer see themselves attached to the gym as such. They are more or less like a customer because they're rent paying.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with, James, Laurie and Aaron from EuropeActive. They're trying to solve this problem
100%,
by giving trainers the platform to tell them, guys, if you do A, B, C, and D, you could be successful trainers. It's not easy. A lot of times trainers do their course, come into a gym, and then they're actually in a very hostile environment because they've got trainers who've worked for 8, 10, 15 years. They know how to sell. None of the trainers know how to sell this. Now, as far as upskilling is concerned, like I do see some people doing that, like you said, specialist courses, but educating them about this is as important as the course itself.
Yeah.
Who does that?
And that creates markets like your PT. They're doing that.
Yeah.
They are creating that opportunity. But when you set off as an entrepreneur in this world, which those personal trainers are setting off as entrepreneurs, you didn't say, hi, I'm setting up on this career as a personal trainer. Could you wrap me in cotton wool and carry me through every little phase? Could you just gently prod me and help me a little bit here and there? Yeah. You got stuck in and thought, okay, I'm going to bounce off the walls. I've jumped in this river. I'm not going to sit in the middle and just go with the flow. I'll hit the rocks on the side. I'm going to make a difference. I have to make a difference. Now you can go to people like your PT or other people, and there are great resources. The industry is full of great resources for you to improve and learn and be yourself. But if you are that person at heart who's getting stuck into and wants to be part of the future of the industry, you've only got to want it in your heart, and you will do it. And it is always a hostile environment because you do go in there and there are other personal trainers and they have built up their clients and you are competition. That is life. Life is competitive, and you need to find your competitive edge. And the competitive edge is hard work, dedication, caring about people, wanting to be part of the community, putting your head above the parapet, not thinking about yourself. Really, the hardest thing that the personal trainers and fitness instructors of this industry have, because the nature of the people, after circuses and theatre workers, they're probably by nature the most outgoing people, and they are front of house people. So it's quite hard to say you're going to be a front of house person, but it's not about you. It's about your client. So how are you going to make yourself have that personality and bring out that person? It's hard to be good at it. It's hard. It's not easy.
Yeah, and you've set up a really good context here. Every fitness trainer, before they enter the industry, should answer this question for themselves. Are they willing to be entrepreneurs? Are they willing to put in the hard work? Because there are no free handouts for you in the industry. And it is difficult, like you said. But I also feel there's a great opportunity because not too many trainers are investing in themselves. So, it's a dichotomy. You've got an industry, you've got 27,000 certified trainers in the UK. Most of them don't want to do CPDs. Most of them will not invest in themselves. Most of them would leave the industry within the year because they can't make enough money and end up doing something else. So there is a great opportunity if you can put in the hard work and if you are dedicated and if you actually like this. A lot of people look at this only as, I can earn 10 grand a month by being a personal trainer. That's the wrong way of approaching this, because you can make that money, but it takes time. Rome was not built in a day.
No, absolutely it wasn't built in a day. But this opportunity lies there.
Yeah.
They just need to look and see where it lies. In 2012, was 2012 the Olympics? I think it was. I went with a number of other people and we went to Privy Council and got a charter mark for this industry. So CIMSPA, Chartered Institute of Management, Sport and Physical Activity, flows off your tongue, was formed. So suddenly we had a charter mark. And so we were sitting alongside accountants and other professional bodies from Privy Council. Why did we get there? Because there was a buzz about the Olympics. Did we deserve a charter mark? No. Did I think I was going to end up with my head on the tower? Absolutely. I thought I was going to be going back to Privy Council saying, guess what, we're going to have to give you back this because we haven't got the depth of professionals. But we set off the Chartered Institute at that point, and I brought Tara in because I rated her highly. And there's a framework there sitting within CIMSPA, which can take you from cradle to grave as a fitness instructor. Where do you want to go? Where are the opportunities? And drive you through a career. But you've got to get there and you've got to get online. You've got to look for it. And it's not perfect. And does it need changes? Absolutely. And does it need changes all the time? And does it rely on where it sits with government and, the Sport England are big funders, and thank you very much, Sport England, and the Department of Culture and Media Sport are ultimately involved in it. But do we, my problem with that is Department of Culture and Media and Sport is not the Department of Health. So there isn't perhaps as much investment.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm not grateful to those bodies, but the work Tara's doing and the work that it's doing, people just go, oh, we could be better. Oh, where are we? Well, get stuck into it.
Yeah.
Get involved in it.
Yeah.
Buy into the vision. Buy into the fact you as an industry have a chartered institution that you can. It's works hard. It doesn't really matter what you go into. If it's your career, it can be hard work. It's a lot of fun, but hard work.
So Dave, if I'm a trainer, right, or an independent gym operator, what can SimSpa do for me, or what can I get from SimSpa?
Well, you can go to SimSpa and just therefore see the opportunities and network for your instructors, for the people in the gyms, for your lifeguards, for whoever it happens to be. What you can do is you can start employing people or having people, because we're talking a lot about personal trainers, but there's plenty of fitness instructors who will never be personal trainers because it's not what they want to be.
Yeah.
They want to do that. They want to do a bit of reception work or wherever it happens to be. What it does is give you the opportunity to buy into training courses that have been through certification, that do hit standards, that are Ofsted recognized, that have all these things. So you are pointing your trainers, your instructors, your people. You can choose as an owner whether you're going to contribute or help or pay to that. But you can start saying, this is the way we flow, and I'm going to support this because I need real professionals in my industry. And I know anyone who's involved in SimSpa, so in that register of exercise professionals and the rest of it, are being given the best opportunity. As we currently said, it'll get better. I'm not speaking here as though it's perfect. And if Tara was here, she would say the same. It's not, but there is an awful lot there. And there's a lot of training providers out there who are registered on SimSpa who are able to provide things that do make a difference.
And does SimSpa help people commercially? When I say commercially, I was, the last time I was at FIBO and the EHFF, I met Philip Mills. And I think Les Mills has done a wonderful job of giving people an opportunity. Yeah. Now, I see that as a certifying body, but
it isn't.
And it isn't. I understand. But I'm now talking as a personal trainer, okay, or as a trainer, a fitness instructor. What I see is, okay, so there's this thing called Les Mills. If I do a course here or whatever I do, I get an opportunity. I'm a part of a pool that people are looking for. And they can hire me, I can get paid 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds an hour. Now, does SimSpa do something like this?
Well, no, because that's not SimSpa's function.
Right.
Those courses that you talk about that come out from Les Mills sit within SimSpa.
Right.
SimSpa is the body that is making sure that the quality of things that are going there are safe, secure, make a difference, and professional. So your Les Mills is a commercial entity that is just, Philip has done a fantastic job. What a global enterprise he's absolutely created there. But those instructors are coming through there. In UK terms, are doing exactly that. They're doing courses that are SimSpa recognized.
Right.
In different countries, they'll be different recognized.
Correct.
So, and in New Zealand, well, Philip has his own clubs where these are happening, but Les Mills classes are, as we know, a global phenomena. So, yes, he has, because it was all about, whether it was body pump or whatever it happens to be, was creating a framework of classes and giving professionals part of it, and it became a bit of cult. It's still a bit of a cult, but they're professional. Philip has never strayed from the delivery of high standards and professionals.
I remember this conversation with him. So he's very anal about it. He's really he wants to make sure that they are spot on. Everything is aligned to standards. Everything has to be best in class.
And we have to align everything with standards.
Yeah.
You look at clubs. As you know, I do some mentoring work with some people in the industry who I think will be future great leaders of this industry. They're already doing very well. But you look at one of the companies in there in terms of like Pro Insight and what they do in terms of going to facilities to seeing what their standards are, what their services are. How can people not be using that facility? How can people not be using an independent feedback which tells them where they're going wrong? We all learn best. It tells them where they're going right as well. It compliments them and all the rest of it. But it is absolutely there. When you're recruiting people, we've got great. You've got whether it's David Peacock or the guys at Love Recruitment. We've got some great people, and they're recruiting people because they see that they are going to drive standards for. So there are all kind of organizations that operate at the periphery, the service organizations to this industry, right from the equipment manufacturers to the rest of it, who are providing tons of opportunities for us to professionalize ourselves. And, the clubs are doing it in a hugely changing environment.
When the first time I got to know about Pro Insight was when I was at, I think it was 3 years back at FIBO, and I said, I didn't know that there's something in the industry which is about mystery shopping, because we don't have anything like that in India where you would, mystery shopping for the fitness industry. They specifically work with this industry.
Well, they work with a couple of industries, but they have a focus. They are the leaders in this industry. But it makes a big difference. And then we need to look outside. I'm chairman of Super Yacht Fitness. It sounds glamorous. And I've been to one boat show in Monaco. And the truth is, wow, I thought our industry knew standards and it was just a different world. I went on a yacht that made the Ritz look like a travel inn, just in terms of cleaning standards and all the rest of it. But similar problems. You go and look at another industry and you've still got the staffing challenges, on these glamorous 150 meter, fantastic yacht. They're still cleaning a toilet with a toothbrush and all those challenges, and the weather might be good and they might be in the Maldives, but it's still hard work, and they need to drive the standards of the people, because it's once again about the people. The yacht is fantastic, the facilities on the yacht are fantastic, but if you're hiring that for I think the one that we went on was we didn't rent it, and I need to say, but it was $5 million a week to rent that, that if you're sitting on there and you're having your boiled egg in the morning, boiled eggs are pretty much the same no matter who cooks it. But if your staff member is dedicated to you, if the staff member serving this, if the chef really cares about his job, if the person standing there serving it and all the rest of it is happy and content, I guarantee that boiled egg tastes better. Because that's about standards. And I saw in that industry that once again, everything was fantastic. A Rolls Royce was almost a giveaway in terms of standard, but ultimately it was about people. And we are a people industry at our heart.
So what can we learn from the industry? You've given a lot of insights to what you see from the other industries and what we could, what our personal trainers could do or the gyms could do. Now, as independents, right? I think my heart always is with the independents, the small players, the personal trainers. They are the people who are making a difference in the communities where they operate out of. I remember my episode with Ollie Marchon, and I spoke to him about and I always say this, when I went to Harpenden, the cafe there gave me 6 free Americanos because I said I'm going to do a podcast with Ollie Marchon, and that's crazy. That's because he's actually working, as a part of the community. So my heart goes towards those. What are the next big trends that you see? Which direction? I think there's a lot we can learn from history. If you go back and see, I think when you were a personal trainer, I don't know what strength training was at that point of time, how important it was. And we have a friend of ours who's now, joined a large budget gym chain, and he was saying that, when they're refurbishing their gyms, they're cutting down their cardio by almost 50%, and everything is going towards strength training. Women have taken they're back onto strength training. The strength sections in the gyms are getting bigger and bigger. So that's one trend we are seeing. I think we can learn a lot from history. So if I were to ask you, where do you see in the next 5 to 10 years the industry is going to go? If I am an independent personal trainer and I want to start my own boutique gym when I say boutique gym, a non-budget, small size gym, they don't have too much of a budget to build a gym. Which direction does the industry go in? What should I invest in? What should I do? What's a no-go? What's a absolute go? Yeah, let's do this kind of a thing.
Yeah, there's a risk of saying where it's going to go and then it doesn't go there. So I'm going to twist that round slightly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that if you want to be successful in this industry and you're going to start a small independent gym, or you're going to be an independent personal trainer or boutique, or you're going to take a class in the park, or you're going to take dog walkers, doesn't matter what you're going to do, or you have to. My view is there are 4 key things that have to be at the heart of your expectation. Firstly, you need to be delivering health outcomes. So you need to have fitness at the back of your mind and health at the front of your mind. So you talked about resistance training. Resistance training, we all know, particularly with older population, that muscle mass becomes more and more crucial in the rest of it. So there's an example. People may say it's for the aesthetic look and all the rest of it, but the actual truth, if you see the big opportunity beyond the 20% in contributing to other people, resistance training is crucial. But that is a mental move for someone to understand that what I'm delivering are health outcomes. Yeah. Secondly, you can't compromise on standards. And we talked about that with the instructors. And that is about the training instructors. So it's always saying we're aiming for the top, not for the bottom. We're a people's industry. Our instructors need to be great. Our instructors need to be knowledgeable. We need to look outside the box. We need to understand the older population. We need to understand the younger population. We need to understand stress. We need to understand a whole load of things, not just that 20%. If we want to break the barrier, if we want to be successful, if we want to succeed in a really competitive market. So you become a health delivery partner. You've driven those standards through the roof because your people are professional, and it's standards. Your place is clean, it's tidy, it looks the part, and the rest of it. Thirdly, you need to be the person in your community who is recognized as the expert in this area. So you have the relationship with the local GPs, with the local doctors, with the local physiotherapies, with the local dog walkers, with the local old age pension home. All those things. Everyone should be saying, do you know what? The community delivery of making a difference to your health is X, is so-and-so. So it's competitive because the X times is not just one person. So you need to be that. And lastly, you need to be able to quantify and deliver. So whether that's digitally or whatever, that what you're doing is making a difference. And the last one you need to do so that our industry, so going back to what we said at the beginning of the conversation, when we talked about industry bodies. So industry bodies can be saying, do you know what? We are moving the needle. It's not 20%, it's 25%. You know, type 2 diabetes is down because of this. Prescriptions are lower because of this. So you need to be not holding your data to yourself. You need to be sharing your data with industry bodies. So this can all be collated so that we can get on the top table, so we can go to number 10 Downing Street and get through those doors and make a difference. So the fourth one, and you know, you might be independent operator thinking, well, I'm not sure that I make any difference. Gosh, you make such a difference. You make such, because you're right in your little town, your little community, or in your big city. But in your area, if you are, you know, the people who work for me are really focusing on moving you from not just a fit person to a healthy person. And we care about the community, whether they're in here or not. We care about the community, and we'll have those relationships. And we're driving standards forwards, and we can quantify it. Well, we're suddenly on that rocket ship, and we can stop staring at this bloody rocket ship, which we've done forever, saying we put these components together and you know what, might just take off. Well, we can actually get in it, and the power of all of us, it might actually take off. And that would be really quite exciting. And I know that you've heard me say it before, and I'll say it again now. I have this obsession is my manta shrimp, which everyone has heard, and people who are watching this who know me, you know, this powerful little ridiculous thing that covered in cocktail sauce is probably quite tasty. But the fact is, he packs this ridiculous punch, 5,000 degrees centigrade, as hot as the sun, speed of a bullet, and he's just this little shrimp. But you can't keep him in an aquarium because you'll just crack the tank and he's out. He's just this powerful little thing. He's got ridiculous eyes that can do all things with X-ray, and he's used in all kinds of stuff. But he's still little. But he's the most powerful animal on this planet. So pound for pound, no messing around. Elephant hasn't got it. Well, elephant could stand on him, I guess. But he's packing this enormous punch. And I want these instructors, these people you talk about, these independents, these people, the army that is this industry, to say, guess what? I'm one of those manta shrimps, and I'm going to pack that punch, and I'm going to make a difference in my community. And I guarantee the commercial success will follow. I'm not naive. I know that the bills have to pay. I know people need to take a revenue. I'm not, I've run plenty of businesses. I know all the challenges of that, but I guarantee you deliver those things, and what you're delivering, that manta shrimp punch every day, you are having an impact in your community, and you will be not only wealthy because of the money in your bank, but gosh, you'll be wealthy because of the difference you're making. Your feeling of well-being will just be enormous. And then just fantastic. Everything we ever dreamed about in this industry, everything that people I've worked with, there's so many different organizations, so many CEOs have all got that in their heart. But it's got to be delivered by the army, and the army needs to have it in their. An army can't, needs to have it in their heart. This can't be, for some, it'll always be a just left university or just left college or just left school, and it's a stopgap, and they go on to something else, and they are welcome. Come in and make a difference, but don't come in here. Don't come into our facilities because you're going to stand by the water fountain. Don't come into our facilities because you're going to see how much time you can spend in the back office. Come into our facility because you're going to walk out there and not head for the guy with the big biceps, enormous chest, or the girl you fancy or whatever. You're going to head to the person who's finding it really difficult, and you're going to make it different for them. And for the first time, they're going to do that tricep press down and think, I didn't look like an idiot. And you know what? I'll come back tomorrow. Yeah. So if you go in and do your shift as a fitness instructor, and at the end of that shift, if you've just touched one person who left and smiled and wants to come back, because most people in those facilities aren't necessarily that comfortable, which is why we just keep churning around the people. Let's get in the others. Let's get them through the doors or out of the doors. I used to have plenty of clients who never came into the facility. We literally went for a walk. Yeah, I was really good at walking. So but now, then I said one day, why don't you come in and have a go? Give it a go. Yeah.
David, we are losing a lot of talent to markets like the Saudi and Dubai, right? And that's for a reason.
Yeah.
Right. How do we make sure? And then I'll, just to add to that, not only to markets like Saudi and Dubai, but also to other industries, because we can't probably pay as much as some of the other industries. I remember this discussion, I think Abhi and I were on a panel at Elevate, and we spoke about how the F&B industry can increase the cost of a pint by a pound and not be impacted by that. But we can't afford to do that, and which is where we lose people to other industries. Where do you see a solution for this? What can be done for it?
Yeah. It's tricky. Firstly, if we're losing people, and particularly to the Middle East, I quite like the Middle East. I like what they're doing in the health and fitness. If I take my sort of trade association and vision of where this is going, if anyone who's watching this, even if they're someone who's only interested in their own health and fitness, go online and read the Saudi 2030 plan. Wow, it's fantastic, right, and readable. Yeah. It's not I'm not saying go on there 900 page letters after you've fallen asleep 30 times you're going to be bored to death. It's punchy, but because they're lucky. Firstly, they're a kingdom. So there is a ruler and they make the decisions. So we're not going through electoral cycles. Yeah. So you have a kingdom that recognizes it has the same problems as anywhere else in the world with type 2 diabetes, obesity and all the rest of it. And it's growing at this rate. We need to make a difference. We write it into a 2030 plan. It's about the whole country. And guess what? There's a really deep pocket there to make sure that it can financially happen. So that, all the stars are aligned. And my view, in 4 or 5 years or something like that, that'll be the mantle of how to do it right. So I think the industry would, in the UK, would do well to read that plan. I think the government, if they're listening to your podcast, if are on this, they would do well to look at what that plan is, and they might see the importance of us investing in our industry. But what can we absolutely change to make sure, or to try and keep people within the industry? I'm going to go back to embrace SIMSPA, embrace where that's going. But if everybody, and we need to drive up pay. People have got to pay rents. People have got to do that. But that will happen if we get our standards higher, because the places will have, gyms will have more people in them, and you will end up with more professionals. And so you will end up financially better off. It's not your ideal industry if your biggest motivation is money. You can be really successful. You can be a single site operator and have a fantastic lifestyle.
Oh, there are lots like that.
100%. And that is fantastic for me. Great club, paying its way. They've got their money. They give themselves a dividend, and it works really well. And they can look after their staff. In fact, they're probably some of the happiest people in the world. You've only got to go to an independent event to see that happens. But will we lose people to other industries if they're the right people for this industry? I don't think so. They do, because we need visionary people. We need people who can see the difference they can make. And so, we can harp on,
but easier said than done. At the end of the day, you need money to pay bills. So I find, sometimes I don't feel really good when I see people leaving the industry. I'm happy even when I was a gym operator, David, I had 800 trainers who used to work for me. If I lost a trainer to competition or to somebody, or if they were opening their own gym, I would be more than happy. But if you lose them to somebody else, I don't feel good about it. And the reason is because that means my industry doesn't have the capability of giving me opportunities, good enough opportunities. And I'm talking about really passionate guys. It's just not probably up to it when it comes to being able to sell personal training, especially considering, I know there's no right or single answer to this, but this is a challenge that I constantly see, where I see people investing time and money. They've stayed fit all their life. They have the right habits. They're probably the right people to showcase as well, to say that, this is how you should be. If I had a child, I would want them to, I would want them to look up to people who are fit, who eat healthy. You're not, you can have a drink once in a while, do whatever. But what I mean is, I have spoken to people who are like 19, 20, 21, young youth of the country. And when they look up to people like an Ollie Marchand, when they look up to people who are, who are running independent gyms, like, I don't know if you heard of the Warehouse Gym in Swansea. Yeah. When you look at the boys, man, they live the life of, the healthiest possible life. They're eating healthy. They have a good lifestyle. They will live long, and if I have people like that in the industry, and if I lose them to somebody else, I feel really bad. What can we do as an industry to create an ecosystem? And especially where you sit now, or where say EuropeActive, and I want to take on this, even World Active, the work we are trying to do. We are trying to do something which has never been done before. You're getting all the associations of the world to come together and be a single voice, across the and never been done before. It's been difficult for us. It's been 3 years. We've been trying to get this done. We're trying to push things. Even if you move a couple of inches, you're moving something so large, a couple of inches, that it's still huge impact. Now, as that global body, right? How do we get more people in our industry, not only as members, but as trainers, as people who want to work with this, who would want to improve people's lives?
Well, there's a real danger of being repetitive in the answer. Firstly, if people want to move out of the industry, I have a kind of different view to you. I wish them the best, and I hope they find success in wherever they go. And I hope that wherever they go, something they learned in our industry will benefit them in another industry. If people want to move facilities, I celebrate that if they move between competition, because that's just spreading knowledge across the industry. I've run some pretty large groups with many thousands of people, and I loved it when someone knocked on my door to give me that dreadful news that they'd taken another job. It wasn't that I wanted to get rid of them that I celebrated. I was just delighted that they recognized their skill set and had moved on. It's as simple as you use that analogy of moving an inch forward makes an enormous difference. And all I'm saying to all those people that we have to move our industry forward, because what we're still doing is everything you're dreaming of, those people staying and wanting to stay, a lot of it hinges back to what they're going to get paid to do it. If you're being paid to keep the fitter, we're just going to go around. We're going to go around a circle. We're going to deal with the same, whether it's 20, 25, 10, 13. I mean, I've seen so many statistics, what percentage it is. If you want to be part of the industry and all these great fitness instructors and all these great people make a difference, then you have to have that mindset of, I am going to make a difference. That simple move, fitness to health, drive the community, hit the standards, verify what you're doing. And you will absolutely get there with that against your lifestyle. But it is hard work. It's hard work. If you're going to become a fitness expert who works in a club and deals with older people, it's hard work. It's a different requirement. People getting over stress, it's different hard work. Recovery, working with physiotherapists, that basis of just getting people who are fitter is the easy side of it. Yeah. If you're going to be a health delivery partner, it's enormous. We have this enormous population. How can anyone look at our industry and look at our country and walk around it? You've only got to walk in the streets of every town or city, and it is rammed full of people who need our help. So if you have ambition, if you have that heart and desire to make a difference, if you have that mantis shrimp within you, you're walking through those rivers of people who are going to make a difference. And all I say to you is stick at it, go for it, and really think, I'm going to make a difference. It isn't going to come to you. You've got to go to it. You've got to embrace it. You've got to be the person who makes the difference. You can admire those people who are the Instagram stars. You can admire those top personal trainers. You can admire the great speakers. You can admire all the people who were successful in this industry. But believe me, I think people would say I've been successful in this industry. I admire the army that is in there. So if they start looking out there and say, we're going to make a difference, then really think about it, get stuck in. So, I don't have the simple solution about what stops them leaving. What I say is it's either in your heart or it isn't in your heart. And if it's in your heart and you can see that bigger vision, it's an enormous opportunity.
David, recently, a lot of people have been speaking about backward integration into healthcare. Right. And you and I have also spoken about it in the past. There are people who are doing this well, and there are people who are just embarking on this journey of trying to retrofit somewhere, the preventive healthcare that we think we are, and I believe we are. So, what are the plans that you think the larger gym chains are having that people can take on? Like, I know that there is an organization called Health Hero. They're doing some work around preventive healthcare with gym chains. I'm not too sure about it. If you could tell me.
I can't. If the truth, I can't tell you in detail, because I wouldn't claim to be an expert in it. But if you go back to that one thing of the movement from fitness to health, and if Ollie Patrick was sitting opposite you after all the time he spent in Nuffield, or Harry Jameson was sitting here, they would say, but what gyms and what, if you take those, particularly the big groups, what they're doing is starting to recognize that it needs to be there. That we know that, I'm sitting here, I'm wearing 3 gadgets that tell me how unfit I am.
The next question.
Yeah. At any one time. But that's one thing. It's only because I'm endlessly interested in that data for people from that healthcare who were trying to retrofit it in. We can't be bringing these people into our ecosystem if we haven't worked out how we're going to make them feel comfortable in the ecosystem, and then bring them in. So there are partnerships to be done there with various people. There are training courses to be done. There are better integrations from the simple ice bath therapies to things like that, which people need to, but we need to have the knowledge. We can't be just sticking it in, ice baths, that's what it's all about. We'll stick them in and everyone can jump in there and go, gosh, ice, really? I've no idea. What's the science behind it? What should they be doing it? How are they recording it? How are they measuring it? What's it managing? How does it feed into an app? How does it fit into their workout? Did it fit in with their nutrition? What's the nutrition plan? Did they go to the restaurant and did they buy themselves a high fat drink and a packet of crisps, or was the nutritional advice? Did it break down? Did it fit in? All this data. If we're going to take these people, we have to be saying, yes, these are the keys. What are the absolute keys? Your workout's key. And if you break that workout down, you have to have a certain amount of cardiovascular resistance training, and it needs to be for you, and it needs to be something that you enjoy, because otherwise you won't get into it. What else is key? Your nutrition. So how are we going to help you on that diet? What else is key? Your sleep. Well, we can't come to your house and sing you a lullaby, but we can teach you through apps and all the rest of it, the importance of it, and the importance of turning your TV off and perhaps reading before you go to bed and being in a really dark room and the rest of it. So we've teaching about your eating habits. We're teaching about the dealing with stress. We're teaching about your resistance and your cardiovascular training. We're tying you into people, because social interaction, wow, well, big surprise here. Social interaction is really key. And I can give a great animal story on that. I was chairman of Marwell Zoo, and during COVID, surprise, it's really tricky for a tiger. If you're in charge of tigers, you can't take your work home with you. So zookeepers were able to go in, but we saw behavior challenges with animals there, because every animal, everyone, they need interaction. They need to learn from things, and that is a great environment for us. With the meerkats, so we used to get all the people who worked in the zoo to go and stand in front of the meerkats. Because they were looking for some, meerkats are cute little things, but they just wanted interaction with people. The meerkats saw through it straight away. They thought, we got 20 people who work in the zoo. This isn't great. And we ended up sticking people in costumes to fool them. So the meerkats went, whoa, wow, look, Henry VIII is here today, or whatever it happens to be. But there was an animal, and you see it with herds of elephants. You take the matriarch out of a herd of elephant, the whole thing collapses. It's about learning all the rest. The alpha male in a wolf travels from the back. We've heard all the stories before. You look out of the animal. What animal community works without interaction? So we need to be doing that. And where is there a better place to meet community, like-minded people, different people, learn from people, see people achieve things, compliment people. So if we can do all those things and add those therapies and add those training and signpost people to where they need to be and recognize injuries and look at them, not look at us. What are we doing to make a difference? Yeah, you're not losing weight. What are you eating? Yeah, this is because we know that weight loss is in the kitchen much more than it's in the gym. And so we take all these components and we become the holistic deliverer of those components. And I've just knocked that microphone because as I get more worked up, as people know, my arms come into play. But all those things. So there are plenty of interacting things to do there, but it starts with all our people looking at the customers and not looking at the customers who've been the customers forever and a day, although a lot of those need looking at because we could make them so much better, but looking at the families of those people. That, why are we churning over so much membership? Why do clubs turn? Well, it's because we're not delivering results. So we need to deliver results. We need to make changes. You need to set promises for people to achieve that they can achieve.
Oh, you just opened a can of worms here. When I say about this results, I think again, a lot of gyms are just surviving on sleepers. They want people, they want DDs to be run. I think, and like I said, I obviously give credit to budget gyms for what they've done, but I think they are basically leasing games with metal and rubber thrown in rooms, and there's no soul to them, right? They're good places for people who understand what training is to go and do it, but they're not doing the job in terms of getting people in. That's not one of their KRAs in terms of how many people are actually turning up. How many DDs are getting renewed every month is more important than how many people are turning up. And unless that changes, and there is a place for every all sorts of facilities given, but boutiques don't do as well in the UK as they do in the US market or in some of the other markets. And I think boutiques are the key where you get more engagement. People are paying more for it. So I have a friend who runs a studio called Ride in Manchester. It's a 4,500 square feet facility. Clocks is the highest grossing, spinning studio outside of London. And the reason they're able to do that is because the staff there, it's all about engagement. People are paying 15 quid for a class, which you think by Manchester standards is pretty high, but people are willing to pay that because they are engaged in what they're doing. And I think budgets don't do that really well, but they're not designed to do that. Now, getting people to actually use the facility. There was this really good study. I don't know who did this, but this study was done that people having a gym membership and not using it still gives them the sense that I have a gym membership, and they feel good about themselves that, I am concerned about my health because I have a gym membership. The fucker's not going to the gym, but he still feels good about it. How do we get people to start using the facility is a function of how our staff is. And, like you said, the first time you walk into a gym, especially a budget gym, if nobody's inducting you in, it's an intimidating place for somebody who's never worked out before. And I have friends and I ask them, what's so difficult about going to the gym? Says, I don't know what to do with the machines. Says, those are not fucking rockets you're flying. They're the basic machines. Says, but I don't know what is to be done with those machines. And while it comes naturally to us because we've been in the industry for so long, it's not natural to these guys. So I think this inducting piece of getting people into the industry is way more important than trying to retain people after they've been in your gym for 6, 7 or 8 months. So I don't think anybody's trying to address this issue.
Yeah. I think that you're right. The budget end of the market, it's a different model. And I'm a supporter of it because it's got a lot of people active who, because of they can afford that. But no different. They would like them just to retain those membership. Getting a new person is much harder than keeping someone who's been there forever. We talked about MyZone in the beginning. Well, they create a great platform for.
So there's a role tech can play in evolving this.
Oh, there's so many tech opportunities.
So I think technology has a role to play in the entire equation, right? Obviously, MyZone has done one bit. I've been on a Whoop for ages now. Whoop's a good tool to have. Then there are companies like CRM companies who who also work very closely in terms of all this talks to each other. Now, what's the role? Where do you see technology taking the fitness industry? What do you think is required now for us to do as an industry? How do we adapt technology? People talk about AI-based things. I mean, all sorts is happening in the industry. What do you see what are the trends you're seeing from a tech perspective?
Well, you talked about you've got things happening AI in that world. So we're starting to understand our customers better. Mm-hmm. We're able to identify the needs of people, whether it's through AI and putting and so we start seeing who are our members in our particular facility and how to work with them. And the AI does an awful lot in that. I'm terrified of AI because not because of age or anything like that. It's because I'm all about people. But, you talked about you're wearing a Whoop, and you might be wearing a MyZone, you might be wearing an Apple Watch, you might be wearing a Garmin. There is loads and loads of information coming out there where technology is helping. And I mentioned as one of my 4 things, not only within the facility does it create that gamification, and outside the facility, because the two must be linked. The two must be linked. What you're doing outside must link what you're doing inside. It must be rewarding you. We have a gamified world of people who want to, whether it's points or prizes or whatever it happens to be, they want to be tapped on the back and carried on that journey. And gamification makes that just easier to do that because it fits in, whether it's your steps or filling the bucket. And there are some fantastic opportunities for clubs to tie in with people where they're getting prizes for that. So gamification becomes absolutely crucial. But for me, where all this equipment and where all this tech, what this tech is doing is driving the ability to drive statistical facts about the difference we're making, because I'm about opening up the health door. I want to open the health door. We all hear it just on a daily basis now about this hospital's closing, or they can't do that and can't do this and the rest of it. And you know what? How can you get an appointment? And actually, you can't get an appointment. You can speak to someone online who where you describe your symptoms, and then they tell you, pop here, all the rest. All those type of things. Tech has the ability, our fitness tech has the ability to give statistics which show that we make a difference, which means that the health sector, the Department of Health, needs to do more than just pay lip service. They need to embrace what we're absolutely doing. Because I'm not talking about the 20%. I get that. I get the top expensive clubs and their members. That's absolutely fantastic, but they're still trying to drive membership through that. So tech for me is about gamifying, giving statistics, being creative, feeding back things to people. And our industry needs to take that and use AI and things like that to see what trends are we spotting and what differences are we not making. Not how we're sticking in the same lane, but what could we nudge or change, which might open a different market or set of people. What can tech show us that make us the community delivery partner? What can they do that? And it may well be outside of our facilities, but we need to we need to look at that. It's in 1989 I started as a personal trainer in this industry. And we were all over learning about human behavior and what makes a difference in rewarding people. And you got T-shirts because you did 14 workouts in 30 days when you joined a club. And because we knew that if you did 14 workouts in 30 days, we could probably get you into what you were into. And then you did 50 workouts, you became a member of the 50 club, and wow, we rewarded you with another T-shirt. And then you got to 100 club, and then you got another T-shirt. I mean, the T-shirt market was just extraordinary. I mean, no one had so many more things to wear in bed than a member of a gym, because the T-shirts could be worn anywhere else. But there was this huge market, but they were creating retention because we worked really hard on it. Yeah. We worked really hard at trying to get people. We were coming from the aspect, if they come in, if we can change their behavior, we can make a difference. And we were better at it then than we are now. But we still didn't crack the deconditioned market. And that's where the big opportunity is. It's perhaps, to use a word perhaps we shouldn't, but it's not really sexy, but you see someone, if I go into a care home and I see someone sitting there, and there is no way they can get up out of that chair until someone comes and helps themselves, and one just hopes they're not going to, have some nasty accident sitting in that chair, but they're waiting for the next 4-5 tablets, which are going to guarantee only one thing is that's going to keep them going. They're going to be no happier. I said it at the beginning, Go into it doesn't matter whether you work in our sector, doesn't matter where you're from, go into those care homes, and it's a very, very hard person that doesn't have a tear that forms in their eyes and just thinks, wow, look at these people, look at these granddads, these great granddads, these great grandmothers, these people, and they're being kept alive by pharmaceutical products. And I don't want to see them dead. I want to see them happy.
Yeah.
I want to see them able to move. I don't want to see them running a marathon. I'm not asking that. I want them to be able to get out of their chair and walk to the toilet, or go to their room, or go for a walk with their grandchild around the gardens and hold hands, or pick a flower, or smell a flower, or just walk in a forest, or just be happy and not sit there in a stupor supported by tablets that's keeping them alive, when I work in the industry that should be making sure they're having to take less of that and being happy. What could be greater? There is no value. There is no value you can give to me. There is no amount of pounds you can stick in my bank account that I would be willing to take to forfeit making those people happier. And we just got to do it. We've just got to do it. And I know people will look and say, yeah, but Dave, we've got to be commercially viable. And I'm saying that commercial bit is following behind.
Yeah, it always follows me. And you look at an example, if you look at what Hyrox has done, right? You see, let's go back and look at CrossFit. CrossFit started with the same similar movement, and everybody was doing CrossFit. And then it became very elitist. So there were a lot of people who couldn't do it because there were technical moves and you had to do lifts and snatches and all that. And then you had a lot of people getting injured. And there comes Hyrox, says, okay, you're an everyday athlete. You've never done this before. But it's not very difficult. And you saw people jumping onto the bandwagon of Hyrox. And today it's a rage. They sell out in under a minute because it's fairly straightforward, simple. And they're doing service to the society by getting more people on the bandwagon.
100% agree. And whether you're Hyrox or Athax or Spartan Decker, I love these things. But, Samir, these are fit people. These are fit people. So yes, they are, because they have made more important and better result training, because we know that type of thing. And they've created communities. What I love is they've created communities. They've created people coming together and with a goal to do their best against their own standards in an environment with lots and lots of people.
Yeah, but they're not, Dave, they're not necessarily fit people. I'll give you an example. I train in a gym in Rottenstall called Thrive, right? So I've made a few friends, and I was speaking with somebody who joined the gym like 2 months back. First time ever in a gym, 2 months back. And now she said that, I'm going to start doing that Hyrox thing. I've never done this 100%. Because she wants to be part of the community. What would have happened is, and this is my guess, I can't validate this with, an example, but I can tell you this. If she would not have found something like that to do,
she'd have dropped off.
Exactly.
No. I'm a big believer in exactly what you're saying. So there's no disagreement there. Things like Hyrox, and there are a whole plethora of them, have created the opportunity for those to, just like MyZone with its goals, they've created things for people to aim for.
Yeah.
And facilities need to create communities. They may have a community, Hyrox community within the facility. They might have a running club. They might have a walking club. They might have whatever. That's all there. You're pushing against an open door with anything that creates something within a facility which keeps people coming back. What I'm interested in is not your friend who joined a gym. I'm interested in the person who is sitting there who couldn't get out of that chair if they wanted to, because they don't have the core stability or strength to do it without touching pulling them up, pushing them up, or whatever it happens to be. And that isn't just the older population. That is an enormous population. I remember many years ago being in America, and I was in Florida, and went to whichever the Disney one is there. I can't remember, but Disney, is it Disney World or Disneyland, whichever one that it is they have in Florida. And I watched a a child, a little boy. He was just so enormous. It was this little boy was so enormous. He was square, round in just every direction, but he was little. And his parents had bought him a genetically modified, to put it mildly, chicken drumstick, but it wasn't. It was a turkey drumstick. I mean, it was just huge. Yeah, it was just absolutely huge. And this little child he was waddling at best along. And then he dropped it on the floor. And went to pick it up. So he leant down and he got it. He couldn't get back up.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
He couldn't get back to straight. Yeah. And, that is when society has to say, we've got something really wrong.
Yeah.
But, you can walk around the street. You'll see it all the time here. So whether it's that little child or it's an older person or it's people who are your age or my age or, we all know them. We all know the pubs full of people who are getting drunk. Great. Yeah. We need to encourage. There are lots and lots of people who go to bed at night and they don't feel great. And you know why they don't feel great? It's because they're not great.
In fact, my next guest is a guy called Herman Dange. He has a company called Made Running. He just started a running club in Manchester. 6,000-7,000 people turn up for runs. And he's done it from absolutely nothing. He just created a movement. People who were unfit, were overweight, he just got them to start walking, then start running. And now when he does an event, and there's no commercialization around it, he's just, oh man, it's just unbelievable. When I heard his story, and we need more people like this, get people to start moving their asses.
Yeah, absolutely. We do. And on the back of COVID, never was our industry handed a greater opportunity than that horrible, because let's understand, and I don't want to be a prophet of doom, but when you talk to people who are high up in the medical sector, it's not will there be another pandemic. There will be, and when will it come?
Yeah.
So we know that being healthy and fit helps you with those kind of things. So it's something like his running club, which could be a walking club, could be one. I remember one of the first clients I took on as a personal training client. She, a lovely lady, but she was chunky, to say the least. And I mean, she was so chunky when she sat on the bike, I couldn't see the bike. Yeah. And I thought, this is never going to work. And so at the beginning of my personal training with her, all I did was to get her to park a long way from the club. I said, the first thing we're going to do is, this club's got a massive car park. I want you to park at the furthest point and walk to this. I'll meet your reception. You walk in, and then we're just going to do some simple weights and things like that. Gosh, bit by bit, she saw the difference. She saw the difference in how she felt more from that walk. Bit by bit, she felt a little bit better. And we did a little bit of weights, and she lost it. But actually, you could have his running club, that's a running club. You can have people just walk on the back of. My daughter is a vet, and she saw on the back of COVID this huge increase in people buying pets. Where has our industry said, we'll get together, everybody at X club, everybody who's got a dog, let's meet at the park. We're going for the big dog walk session. Everybody here. Okay. It might be mayhem. The Alsatian might be trying its harder to kill the Labrador Retriever, and the Chihuahua can't keep up, and whatever is happening. But a whole lot of people, what they got in common, they've all got pets, they've all got dogs, and they're just going for a walk. And guess what's happening on that walk? Their heart rate's going up. And guess what else is happening on that walk? They're embracing each other as a community. And guess what they've got in common? They've got this dogs, and hopefully they've got a lot of poo bags, because it's likely to be quite messy. But it happens. Where are we doing this? Where are we doing this in our clubs? And yet the two things went together. Unfit people need to be fitter. Going to be another pandemic. Loads of new people with dogs. Let's get them together. Let's take them for a walk in the park and walk them around the park with the dogs. And one time they walk into the gym, and not just bring them back to the club. bring them back to the club, bring them back to the car park, and have the cafe come outside with a whole load of waters and coffees and teas afterwards. Because we're really good at standing in the rain. We're a great race now. We'll stand in the rain after a long dog walk, absolutely soaking, and have a coffee and tea. What could be better? Absolutely fantastic.
Dave, last question for you.
Yeah.
What does the future hold for our industry?
I think the future is hugely exciting for our industry, because I look at the people. If I look at the team that I mentor, the companies that I work with, the inspirational people who have set things up, and a younger population that are more interested in health and fitness. There's less of a drinking culture and all the rest of it. We are becoming more professional in terms of understanding nutrition, and we're understanding sleep and understanding stress. So I couldn't be more excited about the future of the industry. The future of the industry is that if it gets it right, it becomes the cornerstone, the brick that you cannot pull out without the whole house collapsing. And we are there. We are holding the brick. There are some fantastic leaders. There are tons of instructors. There are loads of enthusiasts. There are loads of receptionists, swimming guides, swimming trainers, all these people holding this brick. And we are at last shoving this into the bottom of the foundation to keep this building thing. What we've got to do is we've got to get our really broad, big shoulders, our passion, our power, our belief, our move from fitness to health. We're going to own the communities, the standards. We're going to have all the statistics. And you know what? Suddenly that brick's going to go whack into that house, and it's never coming down again. And this industry is off. That rocket ship is gone whack. It's gone. Tesla and all the rest of it are going to go, wish I'd invented that one. Yeah. And I really feel it. And I see people and I lecture people. And I was over in Saudi and I spoke to hundreds of fitness instructors, particularly female fitness instructors over there. And gosh, they afterwards, I've never had so many selfies taken. But you can remember it. But I was just inspired by the difference these people want to make. So what I say, I in this whole talk might sound like I'm not believing that it is happening. I believe that it is happening. We just have a responsibility to drive, support your trade associations, support your Simsmiths, support these people, believe in it. Don't be a naysayer. See how you as an individual are going to make a jump. Each day, we all should try and make a difference to someone's life, but try and make a difference to their health and fitness. And if that's where you are at the beginning of your career, and if you're running these businesses, there's so many inspirational CEOs, COOs, fitness directors, fitness people. So what an army. Best army in the world. I'm in it and I've been part of it since the beginning. So I love it. But I look around and I'm just overawed by how professional, how great they are. So couldn't be more excited.
Thank you so much, David. Appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure. That's
an inspirational story for anybody to say that, somebody who started his career as a personal trainer is today the president of EuropeActive, is the vice chair for World Active. Fuck me. What more can you expect from any industry, man?